So you guys have probably already met our speaker for today. I'll let her introduce herself, but we're really looking forward to your talk.
Well, thank you, Carol. Thanks for inviting me today. My name is Courtney. I'm with FNW Forestry Services. You may be looking at me and saying you're in your jeans and you don't look like the typical speaker that would come speak with us today. But every business needs accountants. So FNW is no different. FNW is based in Albany. We're headquartered in Albany. We have 230 employees. We operate in the US, Brazil, Uruguay, the UK, and then we also have a partnership in France. So we're kind of spread out, but in the Albany office, we have 51 employees. Of that 51, 20 of them report to me in the client financial reporting group. So I wanted to come today to introduce myself, introduce our industry to you, because you may not have ever heard of FNW. When you're looking for jobs, you may think you're looking in Indeed or different places. You're not thinking a forestry company when you're thinking about trying to find somewhere to work. And it's a great company. I've been with the company for 20 years. It was my first job out of college. I started in a entry-level position, worked hard, had a strong work ethic, came in, learned as much as I possibly could, and now I lead the client accounting group. So it's just a great organization and somewhere I'll be until I probably retire, to be honest with you. So a little bit about FNW. We are a forestry company. So when people think forestry, they think, okay, trees, and that is a lot of what we do. But we tell our clients that we can take them from the field to the financials. So we can help the client acquire property. We have a team that's, negotiating the acquisitions. We have a due diligence team. We have a group of people that are doing environmental site assessments. Then once the property gets acquired, or even backing up before that, we can help them inventory the property, count the trees, figure out how much the property's worth. And then once they acquire the property, we can help them from planting the trees to doing harvest scheduling. We have a group called the Forest Planning Group. They do harvest scheduling and looking at the property attributes and thinking, okay, well, based on when this tree was planted, looking at the economy and looking at how things are working, you would optimize your return if you harvested it this year, depends on. So we have that forest planning group, and then everything kind of feeds into the accounting group. So I work with all the groups at FNW, and I also work with our competitors, because our clients that buy property don't necessarily have to use all the services of FNW. They can decide, okay, I really like FNW, but I've got this friend over here and he's got a forestry business. I kind of want to give him a little bit of work. Well, he can hire his friend, was it Landon? He can hire his friend Landon to do the property management, and then he can call up Courtney at FNW and I'll do his accounting work for him. So they can pick and choose. A lot of our clients like to use the turnkey services because they know that information just flows seamlessly through FNW. If you start with the property management all the way to the financials, that they don't have to do that. So why I'm here today is just to introduce myself, our industry, but we are growing tremendously fast. Our accounting group kind of fluctuates back and forth based on our clients, how things are acquiring, and if they're disposing of property. But right now, they are in acquisition mode, and we have so much work that we can't keep up. So we have been trying to find staff. I've reached out to Ms. Bishop and just trying to find good quality talent that is local. So I was asking you earlier if you were from the area, because we really want to try to find some local talent to join our team. So if you're working in our group, what you could expect, if you come in and you have some industry experience, you did an internship with Drafton and Tucker, you've got some experience doing financial statement preparation, then you might be able to go into a staff accountant role as you work to continue to get your master's degree and then get your CPA. If you don't have any work experience, that's not a problem. We're willing to train you. You can come in at an entry-level position, accounts payable clerk, receivable, learn a little bit about what we do. And then as you progress in your skill set, then you can move on to a staff accountant. We have every area of range. We have accounts payable clerks open. We have staff accountant positions. We have an accounting manager position open. These jobs range from $40,000 to $80,000, $90,000 a year. Okay, so there's a wide variety of range there. Depends on your skill set. Our accounting staff, like a staff accountant, what they would be responsible for doing is overseeing the clerks, making sure that accounts payable is flowing, making sure vendors are paid timely, making sure that we receive the correct information from a vendor. We're paying electronic payments for the most part. You know, fraud is a huge issue, so we're double checking, triple checking banking information, making sure we get those voided checks, and those kind of things. And then going into the month-end close, making sure that business processes are followed, making sure bank reconciliations, separation of duties, those sort of things are all followed. We do market valuations. So we have, just like a grocery store has inventory, our clients have trees, their inventory. So as property and assets get sold, you see a timber sale, you're driving down the road and you see a clear-cut timber sale. Well, every load of wood that leaves that property has to be accounted for. So we have business processes in place to make sure that we deplete those trees from the standing inventory, and we record the depletion, the cost basis depletion, and make sure that the income is recognized following the accounting guidelines for whichever client. We have a wide variety of clients, some that are very small landowners. The smallest one I can think of right now is 200 acres. He is based in Saudi Arabia. He has a tremendous amount of money. He's looking to do some investing. And so he just contacted our real estate group. He bought a small tract of property, and now he's looking for 20, 30, 40,000 acres to buy. So he started out small and he'll grow to big. We have other clients that are the very opposite spectrum. They are called timber investment management organizations, and they invest money on behalf of in a lot of different groups. It may be a family office that has, you know, a lot of money, or it may be a pension fund from Denmark or Saudi Arabia or wherever it may be. And we work with those wide variety of ranges. Some are 200 acres up to, some of our clients have over 500,000 acres that they manage. So we're at all different spectrums in our reporting. Every client's different. So you're learning accounting principles here, but when you get to F&W, there's a lot of training that comes along. You're going to know the basics of accounting, but you're not going to know the business processes that we follow. One thing that we struggle with at F&W is because we have so many different clients, all their business processes are different. So client A, you route information one way, client B, it's totally different. So being able to manage a lot of information and different variables in that is very, very important. We do also quarterly reporting. We do annual reporting, 1099s, working with their auditors. Right now, we have clients that have year end at 6:30, some that are 9:30. So right now I'm working with auditors and working on audited financial statements and footnotes. Most of our clients are still reporting on US GAAP, but we do have some that are moving to IFRS, so we're having to do the footnotes, and you're shaking your head like, yeah, I've heard this. So this is kind of something new for me because we're kind of moving we have different clients. We had a CPA that retired recently, so I've had to step in and help and do some things that I wasn't normally doing before. So we're always learning and always growing. So that's the kind of the nuts and bolts of the accounting piece of it. But we are a lot more than just doing bill pay and receivables and financial statements. In my group, I also have a group of people that I say all they do, but it's huge, is process property tax bills. If you're a homeowner, you know the property tax bills in Georgia come in October. Well, we do property tax administration for it's probably around 1.5 million acres. And to some states, the bills come in summary, and then you have Wisconsin, and every 40 acres in Wisconsin is a separate tax bill that comes in the mail, and we have to sort all that out, and we've got a team of people that process tax bills. One thing that the large landowners do is they offset their property taxes by leasing out their property for recreational leases. So if you're a hunter or know a hunter, they may lease a property of ours that we manage. So if the property taxes are running $4 or $5 an acre, they're going to lease that property for, they're trying to maximize it. It's going to be $8 or $10 an acre. It depends on where the property is. Not all the property can be leased. Some, like in Wisconsin, it's all public land, so you can't lease your property out. But here in Georgia and the southern states, we do recreational leases, and that's one person's job. That's what she does. Is she deals with hunters and contracts, and she has an accounting degree. But instead of doing, she had the degree, but she was like, I don't want to do audit. I don't want to do tax, but I really like communicating with people, and I like dealing with numbers, so it was a good fit for her. So as you're thinking about jobs, if you go, I just really didn't enjoy that aspect of the accounting, don't be concerned, because you can use that accounting degree in a lot of different areas. Another team of mine, they do only a portion of it. So the client, they have their own accounting team, full-fledged accounting team in Charlotte, and what we do is just process their settlement. So every time a load of wood leaves the property, we do the settlement reconciliation, and then we tell the client, this load of wood left the property, based on your contract terms, you should expect how much money that they're actually going to pay you. And then we do a reconciliation. Okay, they paid you $10,000, but you expected 12, and we go back and forth on any corrections. Because foresters are great. There's a great industry, but they do make mistakes. So, loggers especially, losing log tickets and different things. So sometimes it can be a puzzle putting things together. So other areas at F&W is obviously the forest operations, the forest planning. I mentioned that they help with making sure, a client wants to harvest their timber, telling them when they can optimize their returns. And then through the life of the ownership, the landowner might want to get a reappraisal. Some clients, they reappraise every year. So we have to provide information to the appraisers and work with them too. So any questions so far?
What exactly do appraisals do? Like, what does that mean, you appraise something?
Okay, so an appraisal, they go and you are a certified appraiser, and you look at a property attributes, and you look at, just like if you were to buy a home, the appraiser would look at your home and how your home is, the size of your home, the location, and they would come back with an independent value saying your home, based on the condition it is, the market condition, that they estimate the value to be $200,000. So that kind of gives you a range of, if I get ready to sell it, I might want to try to sell it for around $200,000. And it keeps, in the forestry industry, because we have so many that are investments, a lot of times those clients, they are getting reports back from F&W or from our clients. Sometimes we're in between, and they just want to check, okay, F&W or the timber management group that's managing it is saying that my asset's worth $200 million. Well, periodically, they'd like to go somewhere else and say, can you tell me based on this, is that within range of what the industry is saying that would be worth? That's what an appraisal is. Some clients do it every 12 months. It's a big industry. It's a lot of money. They spend a lot of money on appraisals. Other clients, it depends on what their motivation is. Some buy the property and then if they're a high net worth individual, they may not really care. Maybe they're just buying it for their own personal recreation. They're going to cut their timber and they're going to have that, they're going to grow the timber for their grandchildren. They don't really care what it's worth today or tomorrow. But then other like large pension funds, they just, a lot of those do annual appraisals. So, yeah. So I wanted to come today to introduce myself because we have a great need for accountants and accounting level staff. So one of the things that we're struggling with is one, getting our name out, but then two is finding qualified staff. So just having the degree from Georgia Southwestern is great, but you have to have some soft skills. So when I'm interviewing people, some of them on paper, they look perfect for the job, but when they get there, they don't necessarily have the skill set that we need. So one of the things that we're really looking for is people that are good communicators, can communicate to a wide variety of audience. So, you know, to be able to communicate with the accounting clerk that's brand new, that doesn't know anything, to the investment manager that has a, they're a CPA, they have got their own, they know what they're talking about. You want to be able to communicate to the wide variety of the audience and be able to communicate the complexity of the issue. Sometimes it's just hard to communicate in verbal and in written to make sure. That's one of the key people on our staff. She's really, really good, but when it comes to communicating the issue, she's, Kelly, this is the issue. Can you reword it to make it what it needs to be, type thing. Also, just work ethic. Doing what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. Following through, meeting deadlines. Accounting, as you know, is very deadline oriented. So, making sure that deadlines are met is super important because one of the core values at FNW is being professional in our quality, delivering those reports on time. And if we're not going to meet a deadline, make sure that we communicate that to them. That's one of the important things. I don't know how much you all do here as far as your education, but Microsoft Excel is used greatly. So if you're not using it, let's talk because that is huge. Being able to work with large amounts of data, doing pivot tables, doing power queries, connecting directly into the data source is a huge thing. And I'm finding that a lot of people don't. They say they know Excel, but they don't know Excel. They know how to sum up a column or, the basics, but the advanced tools in Excel are very important and very needed. So the education's great and we need that. But once you get to FNW, the education just tells me that you have the basic foundation and that you can be trained and you can learn a skill. Because once you get there, it's going to take me about 2 years to get you trained to feel comfortable in your job. And you may think, well, I have an accounting degree, I know what I'm doing. Well, you do have the principles of the accounting, but learning our business processes, it depends on what role you get put into. You may only work on one large client, but you may work on, I work across 70 clients. So they all have a John, they all have a Jim, and a lot of times some of those clients have worked for one and then they leave. It's kind of like bankers, they kind of move around. The same thing with people in timber industry. So a gentleman comes to mind that he worked with us 15 years ago. He wasn't one of our biggest fans, but we were very professional with him. We treated him just like he the client that loved us. We treated him with respect and we did it. 15 years later, now he is the director of another timberland group. And who does he call when he needs help? Courtney and the staff at FNW. And now we're providing and helping train some of his people on the business processes. So being professional is always super important and not something that's always easy. That's a skill that you have to really learn is, sometimes it's not, it's easy just to say, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to care about that, but you have to follow through with what you're doing. So, Any questions so far? No? So tell me what, I asked around a little bit, it sounds like juniors about to graduate, what are you all learning? Like, are you learning a lot of Excel skills? Would you say that you're about to graduate? Do you feel really comfortable in Excel?
I thought I did, but when I got to drafting Tucker, there's a lot of stuff that I didn't know, but that I have to learn and keep learning. There's just so much I didn't know you could do with Excel that makes your life a lot easier.
A lot easier. I have a twin sister and a younger brother, and for the first 10 years of my career, they were calling me at work. Hey, I've got this large data set and I don't know how to do it. I'm like, you're gonna have to call me after work and I will help you. But now they, it's huge, but learning what you can do in Excel is very important for what we're doing, because we're working with large amounts of data, and to be able to summarize it and then also once you summarize it, make sure that it's reasonable. You've got to know your data to know whether or not, if you're writing a report, whether or not the result that you're getting is what you expect to as well. So FNW, one thing that we have done for years on the forestry side is do internships, but we're going to start doing internships in our accounting group as well. So if you have any interest in that, we can definitely talk about that and figure out what works with your schedule. You were saying you did an internship with Drafton Tucker. That's a great way to get in with a company, because they can learn about you and then you can also learn about them. Like I said, when you come to FNW, it's going to take 2 years. So when I'm looking at someone's resume, if they've changed jobs a lot, that tells me that they're not dedicated and willing to take it time to learn, stay somewhere and learn something. I never expected to be at FNW for my first job for 20 years. It's unheard of. But I do expect people to come in, work hard, learn, and then if you do decide to leave, I feel like I've done the best I could to give you a good skill set and foundation. So, of course, we'd like for you to stick around, because I don't plan to work there forever. I need somebody to pass things off to myself. So, Any questions?
Tell us what's different about timber accounting.
Okay, so timber accounting, we have cost basis depletion. And so a lot of our timber competitors, they have separate systems. They have their timber inventory system, and then they have their accounting. What's different about FNW is that we have those all in one. So in the late 1990s, they developed, on top of Microsoft, it was called Solomon at the time, but now it's Microsoft Dynamics SL. It's an accounting software, but then we have on top of it built into timber software. So every time timber leaves the woods, we get a sales slip. It goes through a business process, but when the income is recognized, as soon as the income is recognized in the system, we make a depletion. So we record that timber out of the system and we record the depletion. It's similar to a grocery store, but in timber, you're having to, some of the organizations keep it separately. Timber is also different in that it grows. So we plant, operations vary across the country, but here in South Georgia, we would plant a tree in the ground. We would plant a seedling sometime late October, November, depends on the weather, to early January, February. It varies across the country, planting seasons. But over the life of that tree, it grows. So once it gets to a merchantable age, where it can actually be cut and harvested for timber, then we have to move it from a pre-merge to a merge. So we're moving basis from one asset group to another, which is a little bit different than just the can of green beans on the grocery store shelf type thing. It grows, it has, and then depends on where you live, where your property is. That same seedling that gets planted in southeast Georgia, they grow trees really fast because of the sandy soil. So a tree there they could start cutting, they could do a first thin at age 10. Where if you're in New York, that tree's gonna be planted and then it's mostly gonna be a hardwood tree, and I won't ever see that tree harvested. So depends. Yes, sir.
How often would someone in your accounting department have to travel outside the office to find information?
They don't, because of the technology that we have. Information is submitted electronically. We do still receive some stuff through the mail, but everything is electronically communicated. I do a little bit of travel. We have recently, in the last 12 months, opened an office in Redding, California. And so I went out there, met with the staff there right before we onboarded them. That was a situation where they had a team in place and F&W went in, and the landowner decided they were going to change property management. They did a request for proposal. F&W won the request, and then we went in and they hired the staff there, and I went over and did some training. But with Microsoft Teams, it's great. There's so much training is done online. You really have to be comfortable with the technology and the video. And I was telling them, even in our office now, many times people just pop up on my screen, they don't walk down to my office. But I still like that. I mean, I still go to the office every day. Most of our accounting staff is still in the office. We went back, we were pretty much all back in the office by last August, a year ago. And then we have some people that kind of float in and out, depends on their health issues, but we're all back in the office now. Yeah. So, anything else? No? Any other questions? That's a good question. Sure.
Why did you choose to work for a foresting company?
Well, it's a funny story. I was born in Lubbock, Texas. So if you know anything about Texas, Lubbock is in the west. It's desert, cropland. It's the plains. I ended up in Albany because my father worked for Master Foods. So I went to Lee County High School and graduated. And after I graduated, I went back to Texas and went to college. Ended up marrying a guy from Albany. And so I moved back, and so we got married right before, like a week and a half, 2 weeks before 9/11. So, I was moving back to Albany I was still getting my wedding presents put away. So I didn't look for a job right away. And then if you're married, he would call and say, "What are you doing? What are you going to do?" And I got a job. So this was way back in the day when you applied through an ad in the newspaper. I've worked for them 20 years. So I got the newspaper and I applied for a job. I didn't even know what the name of the company was. Okay, so I get there. They tell me a little bit about it. And to be honest with you, when I left the job, I thought, I don't want to work there. I don't want to do that. That doesn't sound like what I want to do. That was on a Wednesday. I went home and I told my husband, I said, I interviewed with a company today called F&W Forestry. He said, "Kelly, do you know what the F stands for?" And nowadays you guys are doing extensive research on the internet. You know who I am before I get here. I didn't know what the F&W was. He said, F stands for Fraser and the W is Weatherby. And he goes to the kitchen cabinet and he pulls out this beautiful platter. Pulls it out and he said, "Mr. Ely Fraser's wife painted you this platter." And I feel like I was there for a reason. I'm not, I'm not crazy, but I just was like, that's just kind of, well, maybe I'll reconsider that job. And 20 years later, I'm still working there. Now, I will tell you one thing that you need to think about when you get to a job, and I tell every person, and I tell them every time I'm meeting with them, you need to look at your job and how you can improve it. I am huge on business process improvement and efficiencies. The job I was hired to do 20 years ago, it still gets done, but not by a person. It's all electronically done now with a push of a button. I used to print documents out of one system, and I came over here and manually keyed and put information in another, printed stuff out. I worked in a room like this, and I would make 6 different books of all of this stuff, and I would send it out to an attorney's office and a master office, and it was just all of this stuff. None of that happens today. Okay, they literally, when I say, people say, oh, it's push a button, it really is. Push a button, it imports in from one system to the other, and system takes it, it runs the report, PDFs it, puts it all together, and publishes it. My job does not exist today. So when you're thinking of things and you're learning skill sets, you always have to continue to grow in what you're doing. Because if I would have just sat there and came to work 8 to 5, left every day, and thought I'm just going to continue doing my thing, I wouldn't have a job today. So I'm always looking for ways to make things more efficient. I always say I want to work hard, but I want to work smarter too, and try to find ways. Because accounting is really going to change. I feel like, as computer things happen and change, some of those administrative jobs are definitely going to change. We have moved to a paperless AP and AR system in the last 10 years. So vendors and customers submit information, and it gets loaded into our software. And then instead of printing out things and moving it around, everything's delegated. And there's software online available for that already, but it wasn't customized to Timber. So they ended up, we have an accounting staff, an IT staff in Albany. There's a staff of about 8 people there that all they do is maintain our systems. And if I have a problem, or I think, hey, it'd be nice if we could change this and this, I just put in a ticket and it happens. Now, sometimes not as fast as I want it to. And right now they're waiting on me to test a lot of things. We put things in place, and now because we're short staffed, things are not getting implemented quite as fast. So that's not another thing. If you really like accounting and you really like working with numbers, but you think, I do not want to do tax season, or I don't want to do something, there's technical accounting. There's things that you can learn. Right now we have a position open for a seasoned accounting person that really knows how systems are supposed to be integrated. We're looking for someone to come in and where I can say, Miss Carol, can you, this is what I want it to do. And then she go back and communicate with she talks the accounting language, but she also talks the IT language to make those things happen. So that's one of the positions that we have open right now. So this is a unique situation. There's a lot of accounting positions open. If you've been looking, there are a lot, especially in Albany. A lot of people are looking for the same thing. Yeah.
So have you had an intern yet? And for your intern, would you want somebody that could work 3 days a week or?
So we have not. We've had an intern before. It was in the summertime, and it was I'm sorry, my phone will go off because I have so many reminders in Outlook now that it's no longer effective. So now my phone, I have like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock of different things I have to do, because if it beeps, then I'm not kidding. There's like 386 reminders right now that I could keep snoozing in my, there's so much. We did do an accounting internship with a high school student, but I haven't had a junior or senior yet. And I did the college or the high school student because that was something I did 25 years ago. Through my high school, I worked my senior year of high school. I worked at a bank, And I worked there. I left high school at 10 o'clock and I worked from 10 to 5 at the bank every day. So that's kind of where we started. But we would be open to whatever, you were saying that what you do, dropped in and Tucker 3 days a week, or you did two or 3 days a week too?
During the internship, I mean, it was salary based, so it was, 40 hours of what you needed to get done.
Okay.
But now I'm 3 days a week.
So I'm very open to working with, if I could find a strong candidate that would be willing to come in, I'm flexible on the days and hours. I really want to try to find someone that wants to stay in the area after they graduate so that we can build that relationship, build that skill set now. So that way when you graduate, you're ready to hit the ground running. I can say, okay, now these 3 clients, now they're yours. You're not just learning about them. Now you're responsible. You're the client person contact for them. So I'm very, very flexible on that. I really think to get value out of it, it would need to be probably 3 days a week. But if you're taking online, some people are taking online classes. We had a girl, I think maybe she comes here. She worked very short amount of time with us, and it was more of a project. We had a need. She came in and she did it, and then she was done. But she wasn't going to school for anything business, related. It was just somebody knew her. We needed help. She came and did it. So great questions. Anything else? I think that's all I have. I appreciate y'all's time today, and I hope you get some extra credit, and the people online and the people that watch it again, write a good summary and get some extra credit.
Okay, thank you very much.
Oh.